Welcome back, HC Nation. Hey, this is Zach Edwards for another Adventure Box podcast. We are doing this just coming back from the country of Peru and the city of Cusco. Now, while we were there, we got to visit Machu Picchu, a lot of ruins. I mean, tons of ruins, and also Lake Titicaca. Now, these are all different experiences that you could say is literally a once in a lifetime opportunity. So we're going to give you the highlights of it. Now, even with just the highlights, there's still so much more for you to see. So they want you to come and visit. Go and visit. If you ever have a chance to go to Machu Picchu, Peru, Cusco, go for it. Now, Cusco is the number one most toured place in Peru. So most Americans, most European, Africans come, Asians come. I mean, everyone comes. Australia, we had a few women from Australia that were there as well. So Peru is definitely a place to go because, especially for those in the United States, it's safe. Why is it safe? Because they know that a lot of their money comes from the United States, whether it's through sales, exports, like they're exporting to us and we buy their goods, or tourism money that comes down to see their area. Now, one thing that's really interesting, I could probably bring this up when we talk about Machu Picchu, but I don't want to forget. One of the big things about Machu Picchu is there has been some seismic moving that's happening up there. You can actually see one of the walls is slightly off. Now, it's because of this, and actually we didn't learn about this at Machu Picchu. We learned it at one of the ruins, and we'll have pictures of it, but it's literally somewhat falling apart. Now, here's the thing. If they all of a sudden shut down Machu Picchu, that would be the end of a lot of cities in Peru. But the government of Peru is actually considering shutting it down. Now, shutting it down permanently is what our tour guide said. Shutting down temporarily, that would probably be better so they can actually like work on some things and put it back up. But if you have a chance to go, you might want to go before they actually shut everything down. There's some other things about the Peruvian government that we can talk about. Very interesting and inefficiencies in the government, but we will talk about that as they come. Until then, let's go with day 3. Now, this is day 3 of my trip, but this is also day 3 of this podcast bonus edition of Peru, visiting Peru. Now, in here, you're going to see a lot of different videos, and hopefully it works out that we're not buffering all the time. If it starts to buffer, I'm going to cut the videos and put them into place as we go. That being said, let's start off with our first image. This is some of the foliage that you see. Most of Peru is overgrown. Now, they don't put the highest priority on looks. Now, they do want their streets to be clean. They do want certain things when it comes to looks, but when it comes to taking care of vegetation, it's not that important to them. Why? Because it's not one of the things that they really care about. They actually like the natural look. So there's a lot of places where you're going to have overgrown grasses and trees and vines and other things, which is also one of the reasons why a lot of the ruins that are not heavily toured are completely or nearly completely covered up. Now, at the same time, once an archaeologist goes in there, they're going to try to clean it up and try to restore it with grant money that they get from other countries, like the United States. We bring a lot of grant money to fix up their sites. Why? Because we want to be able to see what the history is and learn from the history. Because as I say in all the adventure boxes, I don't know. I wasn't there. You weren't there. You don't know. Neither were the historians or the archaeologists. A lot of things that we say are assumptions, and we just do the best that we can. Same thing goes with the archaeologists. When they go back to restore things, they try to put it back together as they saw it most likely was put together. And this comes with a lot of influence from the archaeologists that are there, the historians that are Peruvian historians. Even the government has a say in how things are supposed to look. Now, if you look, this wall has a lot of mortar. It is not original. So this is all put in later on, but the vegetation has climbed over it. Now, some of these videos are going to be clips just because I have certain things I want to show you. This is why I'm going to allow these clips to go on.
Left side, you can see a nice view of the city.
Yep, so that was Cusco down there. So you're going to actually be able to see, we're going to show you better views of Cusco as we move forward.
Eucalyptus came from Australia, introduced here to South America by Spaniards. Spaniards introduced to Cusco 19th century, but they forgot to brought koalas.
I don't know if you got that. So these trees that we're showing are all eucalyptus trees. Where do eucalyptus come from? They come from Australia. Where in the world, or how would eucalyptus trees from Australia make it over to Peru? Actually, the Spanish. The Spanish brought them over because they wanted to build houses. And eucalyptus was the fastest growing trees that they could get that would allow them to build houses and use the wood for them. Now, eucalyptus has basically taken over a lot of Peru, but they're not actually meant to be there. But they do so well in the climate and the dryness, and they grow so fast. The Spanish said, oh, we need to have these here. They planted them, and now they're everywhere in Peru. Now, Peruvians don't really worry about that because they cut them up and use them for firewood. It's great for firewood because like everything, you do have people with modern appliances, but you have a lot of people that do not use modern appliances. They actually use wood to burn, to keep warm, to cook their food. I mean, if you go to some of the more native areas, those that make the alpaca wool or sheep wool skin or sheep wool, llama fur, so I guess alpaca fur, sheep wool and llama fur, they still use wood to heat up the dyes that they make, that they put those, sorry, my words are not coming to me, to putting the threads into so that they can actually become a permanent dye. When they boil water, it's all used by wood in some of these places. Now, again, there are modern appliances, but the eucalyptus was great for this because it grew in this climate, grew high up in the mountains, and it grew in places that were semi-dry for a certain amount of time. So, but as that was Elvis that was giving the tour, what he said was true. They forgot to bring the koalas. I don't know if koalas would actually make it in this climate and such, but they did not bring koalas, but we still have eucalyptus everywhere. And this is showing
as well today, tomorrow is a special day in Cusco. No, after tomorrow, June 24, why? We will escenificate in that flat area today that we will visit the Inca Raimi, the Sun Temple. After tomorrow, this June 24th. Yesterday was the winter solstice officially. June 21st. The Incas as well celebrating June 21st. But thanks to Humberto Vidal Unga, one is historian, he realized the first Inti Raimi in the 1944 in Sacsayhuaman, in the flat area. From that time till today, every year we celebrate the Sun Festival.
Yep. So we are actually on the road to Sacsayhuaman. And as Elvis put it, not to be confused with the English words sexy woman. That was his line, not mine. But I gotta say, every once in a while I have to say, okay, what was the city called? Sacsayhuaman. Okay, that is the ancient ruins that we're going to first. But as he was talking about, we came 2 days after the winter solstice. Actually, no, we came on the day of the winter solstice for them. Now, in America, it was the summer solstice. Why is that? Because in both hemispheres, it's the complete opposite. Down in Peru, it was winter. Up in North America, it was summer. You're going to get the hottest temperatures in North America, coldest temperatures in Peru. Now, 6 months from then, it's the complete opposite for both sides. Isn't that great? So when you're in Peru, and you go during the summer up in the North America, you're going to be having winter down in Peru, which is a great temperature. It's like 40 to 60 degrees every day. Might even get up into the 70s, but it usually stays within 40 to 60 days, or 40 to 60 degrees. And it's also the dry season. I think we had one day of rain, and it rained during the night, and that was it. And it was gone, and plants were watered, and we got to have some great tours. Okay, now we did have clouds at times, but it didn't release any water.
Cusco's history divided.
Okay, this is where we start getting into history. Now, this is very important to listen to because he's going to be telling us a lot of things that, one, we already talked about on the Adventure Box podcast, but he's going to go more into depth. And there's also going to be some things that he misses and we bring up so that he can explain that as well in the video, because I wanted him to tell you most of the history. So you're not hearing this from me, you're hearing this from the officials in Cusco, in Peru. So, and he's Incan. Well, he's not Incan. He does not say he's Incan. He is Quechuan. Quechuan is the language that he speaks, but they are all Quechuan people. Again, Inca was the king. The king was called Inca. Okay, now let's start on his explanation.
4 periods, 4 stage. Pre-Incas, before Incas. Probably they say pre-Incas people arrived to Cusco City, or they occupied Cusco City in 1,000 years before Christ till 1,100 after Christ. First Inca king arrived Cusco, and with Manco Cápac, look, Manco Cápac and Mama Ojo, his partner, arrived Cusco 1,200 after Christ. They say Manco Cápac, Sinchi Roca, Yope Panqui, Cápac Panqui, Huayna Cápac, Inca Roca, Yaguahuaca, Huiracocha. Till here, the Incas lived peacefully only in the valley. In 1,400, Pachacutec, he represents Pachacutec, started to expand the land from Cusco City. And according to historians,
okay, now he talks about how Pachacutec actually started to expand, but what he didn't do, and he'll explain it in just a few minutes, is that Pachacutec was the king. Sorry, he was not the king. Wait a second, correction there. He was the first heir. No, actually, he wasn't the first heir. Second heir? Yes, he was the second heir to the throne. So his father, who was, Pachacutec, and then there was Yiracocha, he was actually the king at the time. His firstborn son, or at least his heir. Now, the firstborn son it does not have to be the heir. It is whoever the Inca, or the king, decides should be the next heir. So in this situation, I don't know who was the older and who was the younger, but Pachacutec, when all the tribes around them, or I guess one big tribe around them, tried to take over the Incas, or the people of this valley, Pachacutec stayed while his father and his brother left. They ran away. Pachacutec gathered the people, had them defend their valley, and they won. So after the battle was done, after the war was done, and they had beaten this tribe, he basically took over as king. They made him king. So that when his father and his brother came back, they said, "We do not honor you as king. Pachacutec is our king." And why not? He's the one that saved them from destruction. And he didn't run away. So of course they're going to honor him. And good for them.
they occupy more than 7 countries that I will show you here in this picture. You know, the Incas occupy Ecuador. In the great expansion period, they occupy Bolivia, Chile, and Argentina. Look, South America.
And this,
Pachacutec approximately reigned in 1,400 after Christ.
Okay. So this is actually what I was looking at as well. I got the same book that he has. So this has Pachacute, and there's 4 different regions. So we've got Peru and Ecuador. This is one region. The purple is one region. And we can go over who they represent. We have the blue region, yellow region, and the red region. Red region goes more into Chile. The blue region goes in more into Brazil. This is Peru, and what it is today. So, and these were the different people that ruled during this time. Now, what Elvis is talking to you about is that there's 14 major kings of the Incan empires. The first half of them were in peace. The second half were in wars. After Pachacute had won the battle against the invading tribe and then started to expand. But he didn't just want to be power hungry. He wanted to take over the land that the people that were actually attacked them. So he took over that land, and it grew from that point. And then because he had power, a lot of the other tribes that had actually teamed up with the other tribe, the one that attacked him, they actually sided with Pachacute after that point because they saw who was the strongest. And most of the time when you become the strongest, you're going to get people that will sign up with you because they don't want others to attack them. Okay, ongoing.
Thanks to Pachacutec, Cusco became the capital of Tahuantinsuyo. All this was the land of the Incas.
What does that mean? Tawantisu.
Tahuantinsuyo is a Quechua word that means 4 regions of 4 states. One state called Chinchaysuyo, north. Where is the north now? Machu Picchu, that is the north, okay? South, my back, Chile, south. They call Collasuyo. West, sunset. East, look, east. Antisuyo. So, Chinchaysuyo north, Collasuyo south, Cuntisuyo sunset, Antisuyo sunrise. The 4 corners. They say with Pachacute, the Incas expand the land. Thanks to Pachacute. For that reason, in the main square you see monument to Pachacute. When you came from the airport to Cusco area, we have a great monument called Pachacute.
Is that on the Plaza de Armas?
They say
That's
who are in the statue who are in the Plaza de Armas are pointing to this area, Sacsayhuaman.
Yeah.
Why? Because Pachacute was so brave, good, the best king, they say. And why Incas expand the land? Why? Probably during the reign of Viracocha, his father, of Pachacute, water civilization called Chancas, they wanted to occupy all this beautiful Cusco Valley. But thanks to Pachacute, who fought with Chancas and defeat Chancas, the Incas start to expand the land.
Didn't his father run away with the first heir? And Pancho.
Viracocha ran away to the south part with other, we can say, son, the future king, Urco. He escaped to the south part. He was a coward. But Pachacute was not nominated as Inca, the chronicle said. But when invasion of Chancas, he fought with Chancas. For that reason, he's recognized in all Peruvian history as the best king. Okay? Then, Yoke Yupanqui, Tupac Inca Yupanqui, Huayna Capac. Historians propose this is the last Inca king. Why? Because Huáscar and Atahualpa, before Spanish arrived, 2 years before Spanish arrived, they made a civil war. Imagine, Tahuantinsuyo was divided in 2. Huáscar and Atahualpa. They were brothers. They fought each other. 1 year before Spanish arrived to Cusco. The last Inca king is Atahualpa, remember, Atahualpa. You are making video, right?
Is there?
One kidding, please stop with the video, one kidding.
Okay. He actually asked me to put away because he was going to do a theory of him, of his. And so when he does theories, he actually tells me to turn off the camera because he doesn't want to be held responsible for those theories. So let me pass to the next one.
The Spanish arrived here 16th century. 16th century, 17th century, in all South America, Spanish create virreinatos, one for of manage the people. In Peru, they create el virreinato del Perú. 16th century, 17th century, 18th century, we live under domination of the Spanish. During that period, all Sacsayhuaman, all the place that we'll visit, was destroyed. Some areas, some Inca side was hidden, even with soils. They tried to destroy about Incas, but they couldn't. In 1821, we got our independence. Peru is nominated República Independiente del Perú in 1821. For that reason, the following month, July 28th, like today for July, for us is July 28th, we will celebrate the Independence Day. In few words, we say to Spanish, goodbye.
Bye-bye,
In
Spanish.
quotation, because we are still dominated by Spanish. Okay? So we are now in 2025, right? We had 200 of freedom. We are in Republican period now. So, 4 period: Republican period, colonial period, Spanish, Incas period, and pre-Incas period. Today in this tour, we will talk more about Incas period. For that reason, I introduce to you the 14 kings. Remember, the first Inca king, Manco Cápac. The last Inca king, Inca Cola, right? No. Atahualpa. Remember.
So how long did Huáscar and Atahualpa reign? Was it just a year, you said?
They say no rain. For that reason, the last Inca king is considered his father, Huayna Cápac, because they fought who is gonna be the next king. According to historian, most chronicles will say Atahualpa was like victorious over Huáscar. For that reason, Atahualpa, he likes to live in Ecuador, Quito. He wanted to move the capital Cusco to Quito, but arrived Spaniards.
Right. So how long after their civil war did the Spaniards come? You said a year?
Before, they say 1 year before.
And that's actually why they were able to take them over, because they were weakened by a civil war, you think?
Sir, miss, they say, how come only 120 soldiers destroy or kill more than, not only that, sir, not only the civil war made weak the army of the Incas. In total, in all Tahuantinsuyo, 10 million people. But in 1492, Columbus brought illnesses, as well in order to conquer easily Incas, Spaniards. Civil war between Huáscar and Atahualpa. That means makes the army of the Incas weak, but mostly was the disease, like chickenpox. Who brought that? Columbus in 1492, when he been in the new continent, America. Yes. You are North America, we are South America.
He has a great laugh. I love it. So, okay, to go over some of the things that he talked about. He talked about the Los Incas, the 14 Los Incas. Those were the 14 kings. Again, Incas is not a people. It's actually the name of the king, Inca. So each of these on this list were all Incas. Not the people, the kings. And so that's why they says the 4 Los Incas. Now, another thing that he said, when one of his jokes was, the final king was actually Inca Cola. Now, Inca Cola is actually, it's like Coke down there. It's a soft drink. It's a soda pop. Inca Cola is a company that actually tastes like cough medicine. Not that good. But, you know what? To each their own, because they actually like it down there. Hey, there you go. It's them. But one thing that he was talking about that I have to correct, and I actually talked to him about it, it is a correction that's not on the video. So first, Christopher Columbus, the only place he actually landed was one place in northern South America. Most of the time he was actually in his 4 travels, he was actually just in the Caribbean. He did have one time where he came out to the northern South America. He landed and basically took off from there. He did not spend a lot of time there. The smallpox was not actually transmitted at that time. It was the latest Spanish that came in that also brought smallpox, not chickenpox, smallpox, and other diseases to that area. So not for Christopher Columbus, because he just wasn't there. He brought them to the people in the Caribbean, being a Spanish, and them not being used to the diseases that they had in Europe. And a lot of the people in the Spanish that came over, they also had diseases. They accumulated or found diseases, acquired diseases that hurt or killed them because they weren't used to them in the Caribbean. Okay, so now the tour starts of Sacsayhuaman. So Sacsayhuaman is a temple, Temple de Sol, Temple of the Sun, up in the mountains above Cusco. Now, there are actually many different temples of the sun, but this is one of the major ones, and I'll let Elvis explain more. I got some pictures, though, before then. So this is the 14 Incas, and their different names. There's Pachacuti right there. That's his father. So this right here is a representation of Pachacuti.
They speak 3 languages.
And this is what it looks like today. So a lot of the walls have deteriorated. They'd fallen apart because, and you might have a video on this, a lot of the stones, when the earthquake happened in 1600, which we talked about yesterday, the cathedrals had basically fallen in. And so to rebuild them, they actually took stones from the temple, brought them downhill, and rebuilt the cathedrals. They cut up the stones and made the cathedrals. So that's what the big difference was of why this looks so destroyed. We don't actually know what it actually looked like at the time. We just have a representation as well as we can tell as archaeologists and historians. So it's a better picture of it. So you can see the terraces going all the way up. Now, these are not agricultural terraces. These are terraces of the temple. And there's walking paths.
And the Huaylillas Catholic Church, in that Catholic Church, exists the 3 languages that the Incas speak. Puquina, Aymara, and Quechua.
Do you speak any of those?
But I learned through my...
Okay, so he's the one explaining this. I'm going to explain it here. These are Incan stones that were put in place. Very heavy, all made like the Legos I was talking about, where they have different grooves so they'd fit into place. And if an earthquake happened, they would stay still and didn't need any mortar. These ones, though, this shows you where the walls were restored. This is all modern day restoration. And they made a distinction between the two because they want you to know this part is restored, this part is not restored. If they built them with blocks, because we have the technology today that we could actually do this, but if we built them like blocks like this, you wouldn't know what was restored and what actually was there. Because the truth is, we don't know what was there, and we can only assume, so we restore it as much as possible to keep it safe, and also to be able to say, this is what it could have looked like.
Sacsayhuaman as quarry stones. Most of the stone of Sacsayhuaman was taken out to the main school for rebuild all Catholic churches with new style, Baroque style. For that reason, in Cusco area, you see the facade of the Catholic churches with Baroque style. Most of the Catholic churches was built with a stone from Sacsayhuaman fortress. For that reason, you can see original one and the other one rebuilt.
So the smaller rocks are the original? And the...
Rebuild it, the small.
Big ones are original.
Let me show you. This original. Come over here. Come, miss.
So all this that he's passing by are restored. These are originals.
Original example, miss. rebuild original. This is Inca. And probably say how the Incas carved out the rock. We have only hypotheses. They use chisels made of bronze and meteoric rock for polish.
Do they have any kind of like mortar or whatever that like
No,
hold them together?
it's
or
like
just
joints.
joints? Okay.
They
Now
have
he's gonna explain the
joints,
Lego
no
part that I
glue
mentioned earlier.
inside. Only joints as this I need to show you. But it's still mysterious how the Incas made this perfect.
They're in my book as well. Let's see if I can.
Limestone. It's a limestone. I will show you. As well, we will see in Coricancha this. Like Legos, the Incas built this. Nobody can destroy easily.
Oh wow!
Oh, okay.
Look, guys.
So it does actually.
You see how they're all put
The,
together?
like, joints.
The engineers said that the Incas use like this. Like Legos.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Joints.
Now we know why. Did you see his example?
I didn't realize they had that in there.
So
And
thought they
some
just
people
said
say,
they have little grooves
some people say,
that
why
these posts go
Incas
into,
build
and then they fit other
with
rocks or other stones inside those
trapezoidal
stones.
shaped doors and with joints because probably Incas has problem with earthquakes. In Cusco City we already had 2 big earthquakes, 60-50, 90-50. 2 big earthquakes. Never collapse about Incas. Collapse about Spaniards.
So when they took the blocks from here, brought them down, did they cut them up to put them on the Catholic churches?
Of course, sir. For big Catholic churches, some road has to cut again
Yeah.
with European style. But mostly, those some chronicles describe, the stones of the Incas was ready for building. That's why like puzzle. So they take out and was easily to fit to European style, they say. Because they found it already carved rocks. They couldn't move these big ones. For that reason, they remain.
Those are big rocks. These are big stones.
So much better, yeah. Over here,
Probably about a ton each. They're so heavy.
June 21st, Wilton Sea here in the South Hemisphere. June 21st is winter solstice in South America. In Cusco is the shortest day and the longest night. December 23, it is
Sorry for this
us,
orientation
South America,
picture.
summer solstice. But for Cusqueñan people, it's start rainy season. December, January, February, March. It's rain like cats and dogs. For that reason, all the drainage is rainy.
Did the Incans?
Okay, I'll just explain it because it's just weird looking at this direction. These gutters right here are actually for irrigation. So when it rains in February in their time of summer. That's rainy season, and it rains so much that these will actually fill up. Now, if it didn't, the whole temple would start to fall apart because there'd be so much water that the walls would push out because of all the moisture. So these gutters in order to preserve them. Now, these gutters were made by archaeologists, but the idea is that they actually had gutters beforehand to do the exact same thing during the Incan times.
That protect this wall. Why? Because when it's rainy, the water penetrates the walls and the walls collapse. In order not collapse the wall, the archaeologists made a roof. Look, to protect no filtered water inside the wall.
Is that the type of roof they would have had in their time too?
In the Incas time, yes, look. The Incas. They from the army. They are private.
Yeah, they actually
I
had
will show you. In the Incas time, all the houses made of
Thatchery.
and then straw. and the awestruck. So the archaeologists try to do like Incas with an awestruck. Okay?
Gotcha.
To rebuild that. Yes.
Okay, so things to understand about this video. So the thatch roof that he's talking about is this. Thatch basically means that it's used with straw to cover up something. Whether it was a hut, these would work great. But if it was walls like this, by hitting the straw, that water would come right off of there. Now there would be some leaking, but not as much, which keeps the walls safe. Because if the water hits this wall, again, it could push out the walls to actually destroy the walls. So the archaeologists put these on certain walls to keep them safe. If there's a lot of dirt in between two sets of walls, they didn't want it to expand and push those walls out. Now you would see these in the huts of the Incas as well. And down below, this is actually a celebration for the winter solstice for them. And this is the celebration of the sun. This is actually, interesting enough, that altar that's behind him, now this is a play altar, is where they would sacrifice llamas. Now they did not sacrifice, in this part, they did not sacrifice humans. They sacrificed llamas. But they would only be white or black llamas. Basically the pure types. All white, meaning they had no blemish of black or gray or such, but also black because they saw it as the most pure. You knew if it was dirty. You knew if it was had spots in it. White, yeah, you can get away with some dirt and stuff like that. But black was pure to them. White also pure, but they actually sacrificed more black llamas if they could. This was actually a celebration for that. They did not actually kill the llamas here. They did do a remembrance ceremony on the sacrifices, but these seats, these bleachers, were sold out like months in advance, so we could not actually go to this event.
Or through chroniclers. That is pututu.
You hear that in the background?
It's conch shell.
They're
And
using
then
conch
trumpet.
shells. They're practicing their trumpeting using conch shells, which they would get from Lima or the coast
Seashell.
of Peru and bring them in.
That means it's going to start the party.
There you go. They're about to start the party.
A sound when the Inca arrive to the plaza. No, it's a seashell.
Seashell. Okay, like a conch.
It's not a home of the bull, no. Like conch.
They call it a pututu.
So they are organizing for Inca ride.
I already explained that. Okay. Let's keep going. So these are some of the walls that you would see by visiting Sacsayhuaman. I got a lot of videos because I wanted to make sure I got everything so you guys should see. Now here's something interesting.
That is how
Over here, these are lava rocks. They are not limestone, so they could not actually make these walls with this stone. They had to actually excavate them from further away and travel many distances. Let me see if I can show you how they transported. It's somewhere in here. There's so many things that we did not talk about from this that were in this book. Okay. I don't know where the picture is. But now you just got to trust me that what it shows in the picture is the explanation of how they had to transport these rocks. That they would put logs underneath them to move them. Oh, I do have it. Okay, there we go. So these blocks were so large that they had to put them up on rollers, being large logs, and pull them with like 50 people. So they were a ton, 2 tons to be able to drag them. So they don't actually know exactly how they did it, but that's the best they could accomplish. It was not aliens. Long story short, it was not aliens. Okay, so these are some of the blocks to show you what they'd be made out of and how they would connect. Now these are smaller blocks. They're not the bigger blocks. Here's some of the bigger blocks. You can actually see that there are grooves in them to allow them to come together. and they are like perfectly square cubed boxes. It's amazing how they were so accurate. Here's a view from the very top. Down there, that's Cusco. So that is the city of Cusco. We're at the temple above Cusco. That's how close we are to Cusco.
The eastern part. And let me show the tallest snow-capped mountain in the region Cusco. There. Ausangate.
So you can barely see it,
Look
but
there,
there's the snow-capped mountains right there.
Yes, snow-capped mountain Ausangate. That is considered the tallest snow-capped mountain in the region Cusco.
Is it the tallest in
No,
Peru?
in South America, let's talk first of all to talk about South America. In South America, the tallest one is as well in the south part, Aconcagua, between Chile and Argentina. It's approximately 7,000 meters sea level, like 22,000 feet sea level.
The highest we went is about 13,000 feet
Crazy.
up.
Okay?
So
In
that's a lot
Peru,
higher than we went.
we had Huascarán, the tallest snow-capped mountain. Where is in the north part of Lima, in Huaraz. A snow-capped mountain called Huascarán. 78 meters sea level, approximately like 90,000 feet sea level. Eh? There is only 6,400 meters sea level. Ausangate, the tallest snow-capped in the region. And that is, please, let me show you. 6,400 meters sea level. Today, in the Inca style, hypothetical recreation.
So this is all rebuilt.
This is what he's showing right now.
Oh, okay.
That is what that area right there
So what? This was a
would have looked
temple.
like.
Would have been a temple.
And this
Okay, what was Muyumarca?
this is what it looks like
Probably
now.
they say
This is
like
most likely
solar
what it looked
watch.
like before.
Okay,
To
like a sun.
predict city season,
A s-
rainy season, predict when is the harvest season,
So like for calendars
Calendar.
and time.
like calendars. Okay. So please, group, look. Muyumarca hypothetical recreation. Garcilaso de la Vega. And today we have only the base. Muyumarca means the circle tower. Circle tower. Okay. Garcilaso de la Vega described that as in the top crystal water. And they watch the movement of the stars, the movement of the clouds, the movement mainly the sun. For the reason some people said Sacsayhuaman the Sun Temple, because they predict winter solstice, they predict as well equinox, as well they predict when is city season, when is gonna be harvest season. Muy mal,
No white crystal clear water on the top.
to reflect like mirror
The stars.
the stars. Garcilaso de la Vega. Today we can see only the base. What's the name? Muyuk Marca.
What does that mean?
Muyuk Circle Tower. Marca Tower.
Okay. Circle tower.
Circle Tower. In any languages, Muyuk Marca. Even in German. Who can speak German?
Nope.
No, sorry.
Quechua? Spanish, yes.
Okay. Another thing he explained is in the schools, you actually have one main language, Spanish, but you also, everyone learns English as well. Now they're actually being required to learn Quechuan. Quechuan is their native language, the Inca language. And so they're able to learn 3 languages beyond anything else that they want to learn. If they want to learn French or German or Portuguese, those are the 3 main that they learn in their schools. It's actually required So a lot of the words that he's saying, like circle tower, is something that you'd actually learn in school. Now, interesting enough also, one of the big things with Peruvian schools, a lot of them are actually getting you prepared to work hospitality. So not all schools, but a lot of the schools are there to help you learn how to do, if you were to be the cleaners or hospitality in a hotel or different things like that, because that is one of the biggest money makers for Peru is tourism, that they actually go to school to service that industry. So I just thought that was very interesting that he brought that up. So this is another view from up above, a pano view. There's Cusco, so a straight shot from up above. And right here is the temple, oops. What did I do? I don't know what I did. Oh, just lost that picture. Let me see if I can bring this back up. I wanted to explain this part of it. This is very important. Where was it? There it is. Bring this back up. Oh, and of course it's going to give me full size. Okay, that's fine. I'm going to shrink this. Here we go. Okay. This is the Plaza de Armas. This is where all the celebrations were happening the day before. And when we were actually, so the first day I showed you the crowd when we were showing the celebrations, the dances. The next day, when our associates arrived, the roads were backed up out to here, and you could barely get through. So the Plaza de Armas was completely packed. And it was, I think I woke up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and they were still having concerts all night long. It was amazing. Talk about stamina. Okay. Oops. You zoom out all the way. Here we go. So some additional pictures that I took.
Today as well we have some perform in the main square, San Francisco Square. Your hotel is close to the San Francisco Square.
San Francisco Square.
That is a smaller square called Cusipata.
What's that one right there?
Yeah, the white.
Okay. This little building right here was actually supposed to be a hotel. As you can see, it's really old and grungy. 20 years ago, they shut this down because he was trying to build too many levels. And because they shut him down, he said, fine, forget it, walks away. But it's still his land. So the hotel is just standing there and they're not able to use it. But they wanted to keep everything uniform. And so he was not allowed to build this monstrosity of a hotel. So the guy just said, I'm done, and walks away. Very interesting. Okay, so now how to do. So you can see there's snow-capped mountains above Cusco, but this is what I was talking about. In order to get out of Cusco, most of the times you're actually climbing mountains if you don't find a valley to climb out of Cusco.
Simple, you don't need any decoration. Solid, as appearance, and symmetric angle.
This is how perfectly built
So we summarize
these locations were.
architecture in 3 words: simple, solid,
Look how big
symmetric.
those rocks
Or
are.
the 3 S: simple, solid, symmetric.
Simple, solid, symmetrical. Those are the things that they were most valued in their building.
Or rock.
This is actually the largest rock in
All
Sacsayhuaman.
this rock was brought behind that trees. There is one place called.
So the quarry for all those rocks were behind these trees, which is literally 2-3 miles away. And then they had to drag it here
You said it's
on top of
limestone?
logs all the way here. And this is the image I showed you a few minutes
was
ago.
brought like this. Look.
Girls on logs.
So my dad moved our ship.
That's the picture of the rock. The largest rock in all of Sacsayhuaman. This is also a very large rock, but according to him, it wasn't the largest. I don't know. It looks bigger.
reservoir of water. Chincana.
Okay, you listen to this one.
A place where you can lose. It's a tunnel. We will enter. Some myth said that if you take the Chincana Grande, not Chica, Chica means small. If you take the Chincana Grande, you go to Coricancha, you go to the east part of Peru, you appear in Machu Picchu. Some myth said that the
Teleportation.
Incas made tunnels called Chincanas to different areas, to reach different areas. We will pass today one Chincana Chica, okay?
But it's a myth. It's not real.
Today you would try it, only
try
a
it,
small
yeah.
one. You will try the small one only,
If you get
okay?
too much, you get too
We won't enter mean the big one, the grande. No, 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 no. It's too dangerous.
Okay. Let me explain what these are. So you have the Quocha, which is a reservoir of water, which we'll go see in just a second. Underneath it, the Chicana is actually tunnels or a piping system, like an aqueduct that the Romans would have, but underground. And these would go for very long distances. Now, here's the thing. The Chica is basically a small one that you can walk through and you can see what it's like. And this is probably part of a larger aqueduct that was basically destroyed at some point, but we were able to go through it, walk through it. When it comes to the Grande, these are ones that go into the ground and you get lost. There's actually been some deaths. I'm not gonna have the videos for those that died in it, but the story is that one of the Grande ones, people went into trying to find gold that most likely the Incas had stored when the Spanish came into town, and they thought they had still stored them in the Grande ones. Now, when they went to go find it, 2 of the adventurers got lost and died. And they later on found their bodies. Now, the myth is that they actually found them in underneath one of the cathedrals or one of the Catholic churches because they heard knocking that was happening. And come to find out, when they opened up the floor, they excavated, they found the bodies of the 2 explorers. Now, this was, as far as he could tell, it's just a story. He's never actually found out if it's actually true. So we don't know. But the Grande is basically aqueducts that would go under the ground into city centers. So the water up here, up in Sacsayhuaman, would actually come from the reservoir, which water came from the higher mountains, especially when the snow melted from the higher caps. It would collect in the reservoir and then it would be released into the aqueducts as they needed it over time. Very advanced for their time. This is great. This is some of the steep climbs that we had to climb in order to get up here. This is another view of Sacsayhuaman. This is the lava rock that I was talking about. This is not where they built, or not where they got the stones from, because it's completely different stone. Military helicopter. I don't know why I have this video still in here. Okay, now the reason why I have this here is this is the throne of the kings. So I actually have a picture here that talks about it. Now there are 3 levels to this image. 3 levels are significant to the Incas. It actually is the worlds in their beliefs. So the top world is actually the world of the puma. Or sorry, not the puma, the condor. So in this picture, you're going to see the condor up here, condor flying in the sky. You're going to see the puma on land, and the underworld is snakes. So as you can see from this picture, the top level is the condor, the puma, and also the snake. So for the 3 levels. There's also, and we can go through this. I think he's going to go through it in one of the videos, but it basically tells of the levels as well. And this is the cross of the Incas. Yes, the cross. So even before Christianity came, they had certain things that they were telling you. And actually, I got the pictures of those potatoes, or some of those potatoes, and there's actually like 3 or 4 pages of these different types of corn and different types of potatoes. Sorry, I just saw that. Not to get stuck on that rant. Okay.
This is important to know. The Incas has 3 sacred animals.
Should have let him say it.
Each level probably represent upper world, the middle, this living world, the first level, the underworld. The Inca's name, Hanakpacha, Kaipacha, Ujupacha. Means Hanakpacha, upper world, represent the upper part. The middle, Kaipacha, this living world, represent my middle zigzag walls. The first zigzag walls, Ukupacha, means underworld. Each level represented by 3 sacred animals: condor, Hanakpacha, puma, Kaipacha, snake, Ukupacha. Probably with that philosophy of living, the architecture tried to build Sacsayhuaman. For that reason, 3 zigzag levels, 3 sacred animals.
And actually, what he was talking about also is that Sacsayhuaman, the temple, is actually built on 3 different levels. That's right. That's what it was. Top level, again, condor, puma, snake for underworld. There are actually slides at this place, all built out of stone. Were they actually meant like that? Probably not, but they were fun. Now this is actually interesting because this is a current archaeological dig that they were not digging at this today. But you can see all the different layers of the soil that was there because they continued to put on different soils all throughout time. And also the growth that was there since they came. So this was probably the growth that came in afterwards, but these are the growths during that time. And they're excavating certain things, trying to find out what was there, if they had any kind of archaeological findings that they could actually look more into. This was interesting. I'm going to pause this. They're upside down stairs. I don't know why that happened. Our only assumption is that they were carving them out and then they were going to push the rock over to turn it right side up. But there's no reason for it. Maybe it's a walking down into the underworld. Don't know. So there's a lot of things that are still mysteries that they have no idea anything more about them. This is the water reservoir.
Let me show you.
Now I'm going to pause this. I'm just going to go quickly through this. This was a water reservoir. Now you might say, well, how the water's going to come right over the edge over here. But actually the walls were built up a lot higher when the water was here. The grass is actually the lowest point, according to Elvis. The grass is where the bottom of the reservoir started and it would go higher. But all the walls were basically up to about this level, which is probably about 10 to 15 feet high. So come to say it's nearly understandable that it'd be that high. On this side, though, it would let the water in, and behind his hat are the Puchino Chico. Those are the tunnels, the aqueducts going down to Cusco as well, the small ones. If you look at his shirt, this is the shirt that I have. He gave me one of them. It says, I've never been higher. I've never been so high in my life. Yeah, that's funny. Okay.
Excavating. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, sorry for the orientation of this. This is on the other side of the reservoir, or on the other side of the path from the reservoir. This is where all the mummies, they found many mummies in. So there's little, what they call windows, or nooks, that the mummies, as I showed, were all bundled up and were stored in this area. Why? Because during their celebrations, they would actually take the mummies out of this storage place, bring them down into Cusco, and march with them because they were the old rulers or old leaders. And so they actually gained power. The person that was in control, the ruler at the time, had basically felt more powerful, that he had control over the mummies. And during those times, they would celebrate those mummies as as part of their celebration. But here's the interesting thing. When the Catholics came in, they didn't like the whole mummy thing. So they took the mummies, they buried them. They got rid of them as fast as possible. And they replaced them with the saints. So there's 14 different rulers, 14 different mummies that went out. Now, not to say that they're actually the mummies of their rulers, because we don't know where they are. So we can't actually test and find out who they were. But they had 14 different mummies that would come down into their celebrations. So now the Catholics, every year during summer solstice, which we saw actually 2 days from now, 3 days from now, we'll actually get to see the celebration where they're actually transporting the saints from one cathedral to the next cathedral. And there's a bunch of them there. We have some celebration, we have some video of this celebration. But they used to transport the mummies, and now they transport the saints from Catholic church to Catholic church instead of celebrating the mummies down in Cusco, because they're all buried now. And that's what the Spanish did. Sorry for the orientation of this video. And the fun part.
Who wants to pass the Chincana?
This is the Chicana Chico, the small Chicana, or the small aqueduct. So of course, I had to oblige, and I had to be number one. I had to be the first one to go through.
Do we go this way or this way?
Right.
So I was looking through all these other ones,
Oh, you like if you want, okay?
and now comes the actual entrance of the official Chicana. Chicana Chico. And it is pitch black in there. And it goes on for a good amount of distance. Some reason my camera stopped halfway through, and I had to start it up again. I'm still walking through.
Yeah, it's gonna turn right here. Oops.
Kept running into
No, it
things.
doesn't. There we go. There's the turn.
Never did hit my head, but definitely ran into things.
It goes low. Yep, it goes lower. Watch your head. Hey, we're gonna make it to Machu Picchu this way.
One of my associates was cheating, and he turned on the light. I did not turn on the light the whole way.
Low bridge. I found the end.
This is actually the beginning of the tunnel. We went in the opposite direction. Not from the reservoir down, but from the bottom up. And when I say the bottom, it was basically what was left over of that tunnel. It most likely collapsed at one point, and
I don't know if Logan would have made it.
this is what they were able to find.
Hit his head a few times. Oh, that's not the end. Going back under.
Nope, look at that. I'm wrong. Forgot about that. There's the end.
Back in the sacred waterfall reservoir.
Okay.
His family look for
Now,
them.
let's see.
His man cry a lot.
Oh,
In
this
the
is the story
news.
of the explorers that were lost. And I will end it there. Tomorrow we will visit the Apaca farm. And also I'll jump to the next set of ruins as well. So we'll see both this place and the next one when we come back on the next video. So I hope you enjoyed this. It went a little bit longer than I was hoping, but Sacsayhuaman is probably one of the longer ones besides Machu Picchu. When we go to Machu Picchu, it'll probably be an hour class as well. But I wanted to show you everything so you can just see what the Incas and their lives were about. So thank you so much for joining me on this great adventure through Peru. We will catch you next time. Take care, y'all. Bye. If you have any comments or questions, add them to the comments below. Otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow, actually. Take care. Bye.